Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see some people.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 28th of August 2021, we do a program with a difference. In this program, we, here on A View from the Outside, call on every Vincentian, both at home and in the Vincentian diaspora, to say something, do something about what is happening in St Vincent and the Grenadines. We call on every Vincentian at home and in the Vincentian diaspora to exercise your conscience. Engage the part of you which tells you when something is wrong. Do not sit any longer and watch your brothers and sisters, your fellow human beings, being destroyed by a regime which seems bent on inflicting evil and destruction on the Vincentian people to further pave the way for a dictatorship and a dynasty. The late American civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "For evil to succeed, all it needs is for good men to do nothing." My fellow Vincentians, there is power in those words. There is wisdom in those words. When Dr. King referred to men, he was referring to women also. He was actually using the universal term. He was in fact reminding good people to prevent evil from happening by doing something. Because as he said, if you do nothing, evil will succeed. Even if one has not been paying attention, one cannot miss the tragic erosion of rights and the blatant attempts to stifle, if not kill altogether, freedom of speech and independent thought in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is not far-fetched to describe what is happening as evil. And if you, good men, good women, you, the good people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, continue to do nothing, then the very evil which Dr. King warned about all those years ago will triumph. Vincentians, as good men and good women, as good people, we cannot sit back and watch the regime dispense two different types of justice in the country. We call on every Vincentian to stand up. Recognize what is happening in the country, your country, our country, where it is evident that every effort is made by the regime to stifle and crush any opposition or alternative views. The most recent of the travesty of justice taking place in the country is where you have a woman, a Vincentian citizen, who dares to oppose, one who dares to stand up for the rights of others, one who dared to go out and protest, being hounded by the regime and the agents of the state. Her house was searched. She was arrested in front of her 7-year-old child, her 7-year-old girl child. And now her very livelihood is threatened. We ask the question, where is the justice when the regime suspends Adriana King with immediate effect from her job as a teacher after she was charged with what many believe are trumped-up, bogus charges? Where is the justice in that when Ashel Morgan remains unsuspended from her role as a senator for the ruling ULP government and the deputy speaker in the House of Parliament? Where is the justice in that? It is this kind of injustice, this kind of evil, that good people cannot allow to succeed. Listen for the excuses, because they will come. That Adriana King is governed by the civil service rules, as opposed to Ashel Morgan being under the purview of the rules of the House of Assembly, where essentially the Speaker of the House calls the shots. Well, irrespective of the rules which govern one and not the other, what is important is that justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. Where is the justice in what is happening in St Vincent and the Grenadines? Fellow Vincentians, good people, the time has come to stand up against tyranny. Yesterday, many good people sat by and did nothing for Bigger Biggs when he was lynched and continues to be lynched by the regime. Yesterday, many good people did nothing for Yogi Farrell when she was carted off to the mental institution. Many good people sat by and watched her destruction. Yesterday, many good people did nothing for Marcus de Freitas and the host of others who have been crushed by the regime. Yesterday, many good people did nothing for Paul Ayman Scrub. Yesterday, many good people turned a blind eye to all of those who face and continue to face injustice at the hands of the regime. Today, it is Adriana King. We here on A View from the Outside ask you not to turn a blind eye. Do not turn a blind eye to what is happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Do something about it. We caution you to just know that if you keep slinking away, know that if you keep cowering and do nothing, tomorrow will be you or your child's turn or someone close to you. It will be your turn. We urge you, do not wait until tomorrow. Act today. Here's where we call on the ministers of government, who all appear to remain silent when citizens are being lynched. We say, shame on you. Shame on you. You remain silent when the livelihoods of our citizens, the very people who vote and voted for you, is being taken away out of spite and out of an overriding desire to bully and control. Ministers of government, where is your fortitude? Where is your conscience? Know this. You have a chance to redeem yourself by standing up against tyranny yourself. If you are good men or good women, stand up for your people. If you are good people, stand up for your fellow citizens. We call upon the heads of governments to show that you are good men and good women. Do not continue to acquiesce with a regime that will turn on you if you dare to have an opinion which does not accord with theirs. Look at all of the other previous examples. Ask yourself, why Do they want to keep the nation silent? Ask yourself that question. Even if they deem that you have stepped out of line, if you refuse their evil intent and do your jobs properly, ask yourselves why they would want to keep you silent. Let your conscience be your guide and reject evil. Your country needs you to stand up for your fellow men and women. We call upon the Public Service Commission. We say, let fairness and decency for your fellow men and women guide you in the performance of your duties. Do not let evil thrive. We call upon the police. We ask you to always remember that you are there to protect and to serve all of the citizens and residents of St Vincent and the Grenadines. Your country, our country. Remember that you are not there to serve or to support one man or one man and his family members. Remember that you are there not to facilitate the making of a tyrant. Remember that your role is not to contribute to the tyranny which has been brought on the people, your people, our fellow citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Police, we say, we call on you. We say, be men and women of conscience. Be good people and prevent the rise of tyranny. Prevent evil from succeeding in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We call upon the church and its leaders. We beg you to live up to your calling and be the conscience of the nation. We beg you not to tolerate evil. We urge you not to surrender your congregation and your conscience for earthly pleasures and rewards in the form of duty-free and other financial concessions. Church leaders, do not contribute to the making of a tyrant. Be the social conscience of the nation and speak out against evil. Condemn evil. In all of this, we recognize and applaud the people at home and in the Vincentian diaspora who continue to lend a hand to provide support and assistance, and who continue to call for better to prevail in the country. We know that it takes courage to stand up, and we applaud your tenacity and your courage as you act to bring about better for everyone in the country. We applaud you for your contribution and endeavor to prevent evil from succeeding. We applaud the unions who stand up for their workers and who encourage their workers to demand better for themselves and for the development of the country. We applaud the nurses and all of the other workers, including teachers, who are determined not to be seized by fear, but to stand boldly and demand the rights which are constitutionally due. We encourage you to draft petitions, write letters to the regime, flood the government ministers with phone calls and letters. Let them know how you feel about what is happening in the country. Write to the United Nations and other regional and international organizations, highlighting the atrocities taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We thank you for your endeavor and your resolve. Let us all make the call as loud as possible for accountability from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let us all call upon them to account for the $95 million plus which are missing from the purse of St Vincent and the Grenadines. Let us let them know that the flimsy excuse which was provided by the Minister of Finance does not wash. Let them know that that excuse does not stand up to scrutiny. Let us let them know that we will continue to ask louder and louder for them to account for that money. Let us let them know that we know that the country is getting poorer and poorer, despite the vainglorious boast of doing good or better. We know of the extreme poverty which exists throughout the country, and we must not remain silent. We must demand accountability for that $95 million plus missing from the country's purse. We must let them know that they must account for that money. We know of the extreme poverty which exists throughout the country, yet we are told through the Panama Papers of millions of dollars which exist in Panama in the name of Vincentians. We know about the extreme poverty which the majority of Vincentians experience up and down the country. Yet the allegations remain that a select few in the upper echelons of the regime have millions of dollars stashed away in bank accounts in the United States of America and elsewhere. We must let them know that we see a very small group in the country getting richer and richer, whilst the rest of the country sinks deeper and deeper into extreme poverty. And whilst we are at it, we must let them know also that no amount of distraction will work. We will continue to demand accountability for that money and for everything else. No distraction with lawsuits and threats of lawsuits will work. We call upon them to stop harassing our Vincentian citizens in their effort to try to distract from demanding accountability. That will not work. They must stop their distraction. They must stop oppressing and brutalizing Vincentians. Stop the abuse of our women. We, all of us, must be determined to see justice for all. They must stop abusing our people. As we make the call to all of our people, including you, good people who we appeal to today, we ask you to be determined now more than at any other period of the regime's reign to stop evil, stop the evil, and prevent tyranny in the country. So we go right back to where we started, and we urge you, we urge everyone to do your bit to stop evil from succeeding. And as you do that, we encourage you again to pay attention to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "For evil to succeed, all it needs is for good men to do nothing." Until next week, Justin and all of the listeners, this is Brereton Horne with a reminder to send your feedback as usual to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. We invite you to visit and like our Facebook page at A View From The Outside. And we ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at JMB Horne. Justin, you and all of the listeners, have a pleasant Saturday, have a wonderful Sunday, and have a productive week ahead when we all make every effort and do our bit to stop evil